Hi guys, this is my sixth video vlog for Professor Bhaskaran. The question goes like this: Electronic health record creates a number of risks in healthcare organization. List them with examples and justify how you can resolve these issues. Another question goes says also document how an EHR work with a risk information system. The very first thing I talked about is an EHR, which is an electronic health record. I said this can be of great advantage and beneficial to both the patients and healthcare providers. It helps to keep the patient's health data safe and make it available for an authorized physician or any other person for better treatment. It helps to identify improvement in the health of the patient and support the necessary decision to be taken for further treatment. EHR easily saves and support the processing of patient's data and reduce paperwork. There will be no redundancy and no cumbersome, even if there are hundreds of patients given treatment. It also increases management efficiency and prompt service or treatment. But there are certain risks associated with EHR, which are, the first one I talked about was cost of implementation. So the cost may be one of the most important factors to consider because, depending on what kind of vendor you work with, the prices, vendors like Cerner, Allscripts, Epic, we have, eClinicals, Athena, we have a bunch of them, so it all varies with the price, it varies with the size of the hospital, the facility, and it also varies with the user friendliness of it. Sometimes the physicians actually like to choose one EHR over the rest. This might also be because of the fact that during their stay in one hospital, they've been using one EHR and they kind of acquainted with that kind of EHR. So talk about depending on the vendor you work with, the cost to implement your EHR, it could be more expensive than your initial budget anticipated. Staff will have better morals, which are less stressed now that they have a robust EHR in place, and patients will appreciate that you value their time by using labor-saving EHR technologies. So the second one I talked on was the security and privacy of data. So while most EHR systems are safe and secure, doctors, physicians, and practice managers still have legitimate worries about data breaches caused by ransomware and other cybersecurity acts. Patients' data can be hacked by the hackers, and personal information can be accessed without authorization, which might cause problems to the patients as well, and as well make the organization liable for breach of security. Though the healthcare providers try to secure information and control the access, there are changes for breach of it and accessibility to the patient data. The third one I talked about was the usability of the EHR system. So I know some health professionals might not have adequate training to be able to use the software. So sometimes it's actually advisable to implement an EHR system which is easier to navigate. So even though if they don't have enough training, you can as well, talk them through, walk them through, help them out. The fourth one I said there is increased risk of medical error because the system will move towards taking the decision through built-in clinical decision-making system, and this kind of enhances the chance of medical error because there must be many more advancements for the system to supersede the human capability. The other one I talked about is physicians not seeking other information due to over-reliance on EHR system. So the physicians taking decisions independently when they don't understand certain protocols, and rather than asking for help, they take the decision individually. There's a threat which physicians feel because they lose the autonomy, as in these system records are available for the entire care community and they also have access to it. So what are the methods of actually resolving issues pertaining to the risk of EHRs? I said the very first one is you have to perform regular IT threat assessments. And how is this done? This is actually done to keep up with the advancement that these hackers are making to attack the system, and to also ensure that evolving IT environment maintains the same levels of security. Another method is also by implementing security updates as necessary and correct identified security deficiencies as part of the risk management system. The third one is to perform a security risk analysis in accordance with the requirements of 45 CFR 164.308A1. Security risk analysis means that you must identify the potential risk and vulnerabilities to the confidentiality, the availability, and also the integrity of all electronic personal health information that your organization creates, receives, maintains, or transmits. I talked about another ways of actually correcting or resolving the issues is also by educating healthcare professionals. So healthcare professionals need to, one has to create an education plan by training healthcare professionals on the properties of EHR. Like walking them through, you do like a classroom training for them. You walk them through on how to actually use the EHR. You walk them through on using the EHR in a very, very great way, in the sense that they get more accustomed and acquainted with the EHR, and they get used to it, and within a couple of months, it's kind of way user friendly for them. I also talked about cleaning up the user devices, like bringing your own device, so at least you're actually connecting. You're connecting through you have like a BYD, which bring your own device, where you can actually bring your device, so you're not at risk. You're not actually violating no EPR. You're only using your computer for, say, you're trying to check your email and stuff like that. I talked about the last one, which is like clean up user devices and audit, monitor, and alert. This actually means that you're monitoring the employees with privileged levels of access to the most sensitive information, because they are very often the cause of biggest data breaches. So I talked about all. So the second question says, document how an EHR work with a risk information system. The first thing I talked about is a risk management, which is defined as the act of practice of dealing with risk, which includes the planning for risk, accessing, identifying, and analyzing risk areas, developing risk handling options, monitoring risk to determine how risks have changed, and documenting the overall risk management program. What is the purpose of a risk management? The purpose of a risk management is to eliminate the probability of risk and mitigate risk impact. So risk management in healthcare. So we talk about the FMEA, which is one of the vital, very important tools used in risk management. It is used to recognize the location, the circumstances, and outcomes of potential failure for the purpose of diminishing the chance of failure. It was adopted for the healthcare industry by the American Hospital Association in 2002, and also the Joint Commission at the turn of the century. So applying FMEA in EHR implementation. So risk management is also needed for EHR systems, so that undesirable events can be ruled out and prevented whenever possible. We also have a way where healthcare organizations kind of undertake EHR implementation projects by updating the information technology processes. An application of the FMEA during the EHR implementation. Here, you will see that the project manager actually focuses on the risk assessment and control. The risk assessment table will actually contain the severity, the time, the scope, and quality of the EHR. The risk management team can access each risk item's probability and risk score. And then they do the risk score. For the risk score, the risk management team can proceed to create a risk score of inadequate training, which shows like more like an aggregate of all the physicians through a survey. And with that, one can actually decipher if inadequate training is high or medium. In the case of an illustration of the EHR implementation, the root cause of inadequate training is examined as one risk included in the risk register. For the risk factor, this might be caused simply because insufficient training was actually given to the part of the management. The next step is to take action to monitor and control risk. The risk management team should pay more attention to risk factors assessed as high to medium and alleviate its impact. Actions might include avoiding, transferring, mitigating, and accepting a risk. But we know that if we avoid a risk, all we're trying to do is to ensure that the risk will never happen by changing the plan or process. So to address inadequate training, managers can prepare in advance by requiring more training from the EHR vendors and provide additional on-site or online assistance. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.